What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low. And if you didn't know, on October 19th, the NBA season will officially begin, which is literally right around the corner. Because of this, I decided to take the time out to make a video explaining to you all of the important things that you need to know heading into the new season. And that is the intro, because there's no need for me to spend any more time setting up this video. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that I think many people need to know is that this upcoming season marks the 75th anniversary of the NBA, which is a milestone that is worth celebrating itself because a league lasting this long and peaking in popularity at this stage of its existence is very impressive. Now, for the people out there who are wondering what exactly does this mean for me, well, nothing too serious. A few topical things such as the NBA logo changing, which is Jerry West in that diamond shape emblem. This new logo will not only be found throughout NBA media, but also on memorabilia. So if you are a collector, I'm pretty sure this will pique your interest because, of course, there will never be another 75th anniversary. Also, throughout the season, the league will feature classic matchups to celebrate teams, players, coaches, and moments that define the 75 years of NBA basketball. For example, on November 1st, the Toronto Raptors will match up with the New York Knicks, and the reason why is because this is marking the 75th anniversary of the league's first regular season game, where the New York Knickerbockers matched up with the Toronto Huskies back on November 1st, 1946. So yes, trivial, topical things like this will occur all throughout the regular season. However, what's more important is that the NBA will be officially listing out the top 75 players in NBA history, which is monumental to say the least. Now, this isn't anything new because back in the 96-97 season, when it was the 50th anniversary of the NBA, the league released the top 50 players in NBA history, and they did so back during the 25th anniversary for the top 25 players in NBA history. But going back to the top 50 list, if you are an NBA or basketball head, that has essentially been the holy grail of NBA lists that has ever been published throughout NBA history. And so now that we're going to have an updated version of that consists of the top 75 players, is going to be very monumental, and of course it will spark several debates. And just in case you were wondering, the way that the 75 greatest players list will be constructed is through voting between media members, current and former players, coaches, general managers, and team executives. So no, for all my conspiracy theorists out there, it is not just a media-driven award or a media-driven list. And to make things even more exciting, the list will be released later on this month, so definitely can't wait for that. Next thing that you need to know moving into the upcoming season is that the NBA is implementing a new rule that I'm pretty sure everyone is going to enjoy, and that is a rule or a set of rules to prevent foul baiting. Over the offseason, the NBA implemented rule changes to potentially stop offensive players from making unnatural moves to draw fouls, which is better known as foul baiting. Now, over the past couple of years, players such as James Harden, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, and Chris Paul have essentially become infamous for their foul baiting tactics. However, last year, it got really out of hand and it started to escalate to the point of asking the question, is this even really basketball? Should this even be allowed? Sure, some level of manipulation is understandable, but is this considered to be credible basketball? Now, Trae Young is getting a lot of flack for this, and rightfully so, but in my opinion, the NBA is a little late on this and should have really addressed the foul baiting problem a few years ago when you had NBA players literally defending James Harden with their hands behind their back because how often Harden would just hook a defender and foul bait his way to the free throw line. So yeah, this is something that is way past due, and I'm happy that the NBA is addressing it. But the one thing I want to point out is the terminology and what exactly it means to prevent foul baiting, because I believe a lot of people are missing out on two key factors of this rule change. The first one being that if the non-basketball move is so egregious that it is able to result in a marginal amount of contact, then that play will be deemed an offensive foul. And shout out to the NBA officials Twitter page because they did give us several examples of what would be considered an offensive foul. Probably one of the more identifiable ones is something that happened last year where Luka Doncic, after pump faking at the three-point line and Andrew Wiggins jumping up to contest, launched himself abnormally into Wiggins to try to draw contact. He was not only awarded a foul but also went to the free throw line for 3 easy buckets, and now they're stating that that move would be deemed an offensive foul. Other great examples are when shooters abnormally just kick their foot out to try to draw contact, or when you have ball handlers out of pick and rolls just out of nowhere jump backwards to try to draw contact from the trailing defender. And my personal favorite is when you have these offensive players who literally go out of their way to hook their arm on the defender while they attempt a shot, and then flail their arms in the air and act as if like they didn't just hook their own arm into the defender. That, moving forward, will finally be called an offensive foul. But the second thing that I have to point out is this key phrasing that the NBA decided to use on the NBA officials' Twitter page, and that is, there will be an interpretive change in the officiating of overt, abrupt, or abnormal non-basketball moves by offensive players with the ball in effort to draw fouls. And the key word there is interpretive, which essentially means the interpretation of this rule and how it will be carried out is all relative from one referee to another. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this will be inconsistent early on in the regular season, but as time continues to progress, it'll be a bit more refined, and I do believe the style of basketball that is played in the NBA will improve as well. Now, for the next part of the video, let me be clear, I'm not here to push any political agenda. I am just here to give you the facts of the situation that's going on with Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. So please do not cancel me. But just in case you do not know, there are 15 teams in the NBA that are located in cities that have implemented mandates for COVID. Either A, you have to show proof that you were fully vaccinated, or you have to show proof of a recent negative test. Now, out of those 15 teams, 11 of them are located in cities that give you a choice to either show proof of fully vaccination or show proof of a recently negative test. Those teams are the Mavericks, Pelicans, Lakers, Clippers, Celtics, Bulls, Thunder, Grizzlies, Blazers, Jazz, and Kings. So if you live in those cities and you are a fan of one of those teams, I guess this also is a heads up to you as well. Yes, you have to show some type of proof to attend these public events. Now, for the other 4 teams, they are located in cities that do not give a choice at all. You have to be completely vaccinated. Those 4 teams are the Golden State Warriors, the Toronto Raptors, the New York Knicks, and the Brooklyn Nets. And this is where the concerns with Kyrie Irving lies. Kyrie has openly admitted that he is not vaccinated, and from my research, it doesn't seem like he intends to be vaccinated anytime soon. And in terms of just basketball, and that's all we're going to talk about, basketball, the implications of Kyrie's decision are pretty damning, to the point where many people believe that he should be traded. And the reason why is because of the amount of games that he will miss in this upcoming season. Now, this is a part of the video where I have to re-record because initially I went into this diatribe about how Kyrie Irving was only going to be available for half of the season and how he was going to be a part-time player, but it seems as if like the Brooklyn Nets are not willing to give Kyrie that option, because now with this new statement from Sean Marks, who's the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets, it is clear that Kyrie really doesn't have that many options here. And I quote, "Given the evolving nature of the situation, after thorough deliberation, we have decided Kyrie Irving will not play or practice with the team until he is eligible to be a full participant. Currently, the choice restricts his ability to be a full-time member of the team, and we will not permit any member of our team to participate with part-time availability." So again, no real options here, which is why so many people are looking at the opportunity of trading Kyrie Irving to another organization. However, to those people, it's just not that simple. The biggest reason for this is because not only will Kyrie still be a part-time participant for another organization, for example, if he does get traded to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons, yes, Philly is going to get a better player at the point guard position who best fits that team. However, when you get into the playoffs and you face against the Brooklyn Nets, which essentially is inevitable, Kyrie will miss out on half of the series because he cannot play in Brooklyn. But also keep in mind, if you are a team like the Philadelphia 76ers or any team across the league, why is it that you are willing to trade a piece to potentially make them a better team rather than just allowing them to run an entire season with a man short with this decision? Because again, going to the Philly Ben Simmons situation, sure, Philadelphia gets better because they get Kyrie Irving, but one can argue the Nets get drastically better, not because Ben Simmons is a drastically better player than Kyrie, but because Ben Simmons is better than not having Kyrie Irving at all. And also, keep in mind, this is not taking into consideration the rumors, and I'm gonna say that word again in that tone, the rumors that Kyrie Irving might contemplate retiring early if the Brooklyn Nets trade him to a team that isn't favorable to him. So yeah, this Kyrie Irving situation is far from simple, and it's probably the most complex situation I've ever covered within my time on YouTube. Okay, this is now like my third time recording this portion of the video because there's been so much breaking news in terms of the Ben Simmons situation, the Philadelphia 76ers. So hopefully for the last time, Ben Simmons, young guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, has had a lot of downfalls early on in his career. The most recent one is another disappointing postseason series against the Atlanta Hawks that resulted in not only the Philadelphia 76ers losing in the second round, but also pushing the organization in a direction that does not include Ben Simmons, as Philadelphia has been looking to trade the 24-year-old guard all throughout the offseason. Now, another result in the second round loss is both Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers saying some pretty concerning and damning comments after the series loss that made Ben Simmons feel like he was thrown underneath the bus, which also resulted in Simmons believing that he too needed to move forward without Philadelphia, which in theory sounds great because now we have both the organization and the player on the same page and believing that they should move in separate directions. However, as we all know, it's just not all that simple, because due to Simmons' poor performances, the trade value in the market for him has dropped significantly. Because of this revelation, the Sixers have decided to just hold on to Simmons in hopes that either A, his trade value will increase, or B, an organization becomes so desperate that they're willing to move off of more than what they've been offered over the past few months now. But unfortunately, Simmons really wasn't feeling that course of action. He believed he was so disrespected during the post-series interviews with Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid that he did not want to participate, and he refused to show up to any event or any games with the Philadelphia 76ers, and even went as far as claiming that he was not even going to show up to anything to deal with the organization until he was traded, which was a very bold claim, especially on the financial term, because there was a lot to lose if Simmons decided to not show up to media day, training camp, and especially if he decided to start missing out on regular season games. How much of a financial risk was this? Well, for people out there who don't know, some NBA players' contracts are structured to where they can receive large lump sums on specific days throughout the year. In the case of Ben Simmons, he was owed 25% of his contract on October 1st, which is roughly $8.25 million. But because he never showed up, the Sixers decided to just hold on to his money until he decided to just show up to the events. But of course, this came with a caveat. Philadelphia as an organization decided to fine Ben Simmons every time he decided not to participate, and these fines were pretty hefty. For example, because Ben Simmons did not participate during a preseason game earlier this month, he was fined $360,000, which was a lot of money. So much so that Simmons finally buckled under the pressure, and as I am recording this today, finally decided to show up to a Sixers facility and is now participating with the organization. Now, it may seem as if like everything is resolved now, Ben Simmons is back with the Sixers and now they're going to play moving forward, but it's just not that simple. Not only because A, Joel Embiid has doubled down on some of his criticism on Ben Simmons, and I really don't know how that dynamic moving forward is going to work, but B, and more importantly, there are long-term effects to what Ben Simmons decided to do in the course of action he took over the past couple of months. And the two that I really want to highlight is his trade value and what exactly does this mean for the player empowerment movement. In terms of his trade value, over the past couple of months, when the Philadelphia 76ers should have been strategizing on how to improve his trade value so he can be moved, unfortunately, they couldn't do so because he wasn't actually active during training camp. So now all of those months where they should have been experimenting on what they could do for Ben Simmons so he can fit with this team are now out the window, and it feels like they're probably going to go into the upcoming season rushing Ben Simmons probably back in the same role that he had before and slowly experimenting here and there, which again, I don't believe is going to help trade Ben Simmons sooner than later. And then on the other hand, like I said before, the player empowerment movement, in my opinion, took a massive hit with Ben Simmons' decisions. Because even though, yes, the players have made up a lot of ground over the past couple of years in terms of gaining control and power, especially in terms of where they want to play and how they deal with the media and other owners. However, with Simmons taking such an extreme course of action, I have no doubt in my mind the owners will leverage the situation in an attempt to gain more power over the Players Association, which again, I'm pretty sure is not going to be favorable for multiple players in the NBA. And finally, here's the most updated information I can give you on some of the major players in the NBA and their injuries. Patrick Williams is day-to-day and more than likely will be available for the beginning of the regular season. Kobe White is still out due to a left shoulder injury that he sustained during the middle of the offseason. However, it looks to make a return towards the tail end of November. Jamal Murray sustained an ACL tear back in the middle of April, and there still is no timetable for when he is supposed to return, but because it's a torn ACL, more than likely he will miss majority, if not all, of the regular season, and hopefully he'll be able to come back during the playoffs. James Wiseman was out due to a right meniscus tear that he sustained back in April, and the Warriors are being optimistic about his availability on the season opener. However, there still isn't any timetable for his return. Klay Thompson, who missed 2 seasons of basketball, still doesn't have a clear timetable on when he's going to return due to the right Achilles tear that he sustained back in November, but there are some rumors claiming that he will be back in action late December. The Pacers are pretty optimistic about Caris LeVert and Justin Holiday coming back early on during the regular season. However, that level of optimism doesn't carry over to TJ Warren, who dealt with a stress fracture in his foot, and because it's not healing at the pace it previously anticipated, there's a possibility that he will miss the first few months of this upcoming regular season. Serge Ibaka, who missed all of the postseason last year due to his bad back, has finally been cleared for contact drills, but still there is no timetable for when he's going to return. Kawhi Leonard is still out due to a torn ACL during the postseason, and because it's an ACL, there isn't a clear timetable, but more than likely, due to the nature of the injury, he will probably miss all of the regular season, and hopefully he will return for the postseason. But with it being Kawhi Leonard, the odds of him rushing back from the injury is definitely low, so don't hold your breath on that. Then we have Victor Oladipo, who was out due to a right quad injury, and the original timetable for Oladipo's return was roughly around January, February. However, there are some people who are optimistic about him returning a bit earlier than that. Pascal Siakam is out due to his shoulder injury, and again, there isn't any real timetable, but some people are being optimistic that he will return towards late November. And then finally, we have Markelle Fultz, another player who dealt with an ACL injury back in January, and again, due to the nature of the injury, there isn't a clear timetable, but more than likely he will miss the first few months of this upcoming season. And so, with all that information, please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be updated when I upload premium content on this channel, because the NBA season is right around the corner. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.